Get ready to dream. Close your eyes, the story is about to begin. Claire woke up with her heart racing, her breath coming in quick gasps, and the sensation that the nightmare was still following her. The morning light filtered through the curtains of her room, but the image of her city in flames burned in her mind. The flames danced like voracious serpents, consuming everything in their path, while screams of despair echoed in her ears. "No, no, no," she murmured, trying to push the terrifying vision away. She sat up in bed, the crumpled sheets around her, and ran her hands over her face, trying to compose herself. "Claire," her mother's gentle voice called from the kitchen. "Is everything okay? Did you have those nightmares again?" "Yeah, Mom. Just a nightmare." "I'll be there in a minute," Claire replied, forcing a smile that didn't materialize. She got up and walked to the window, looking down at the peaceful city below. But in her mind, she could still see the flames. It was as if something was about to happen, something she couldn't understand. Amidst the confusion of thoughts, a whisper caught her attention. It was a soft voice that seemed to float with the wind, murmuring about something distant. Claire furrowed her brow, trying to catch the words. The Cave of Nokma, secrets, the truth, the whisper seemed to promise answers, and an irresistible impulse pushed her out of the house. The Cave of Nokma was a legend in her town, a place surrounded by mysteries and stories whispered among the inhabitants. Claire had always felt an inexplicable attraction to that place, and now, with her fears and doubts bubbling inside her, she decided she needed to go there. She walked quickly along the trail leading to the cave, her boots making a soft sound on the dry leaves. The air grew cooler with each step, and the trees seemed to whisper secrets as she approached her destination. When she finally caught sight of the cave entrance, covered by thick vines that seemed to protect what lay behind, her heart raced. Claire hesitated for a moment, but curiosity and the need for answers were stronger. "If I don't find out what's happening, who will?" she murmured to herself before pushing aside the vines and entering the cave. As she crossed the threshold, the soft interior light illuminated the damp walls, revealing rock formations that seemed to dance with the shadows. The air was charged with a palpable mystery, and the sensation of being watched made her stomach churn. Claire advanced cautiously, and soon she realized she was not alone. Magical creatures of all kinds surrounded her, their eyes shining like stars in the darkness. "Who are you?" a firm voice asked, and Claire turned to face an elf with silver hair and pointed ears, standing out among the shadows. He had a keen and challenging gaze. I am Claire," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "I'm here to understand what's happening." "Human," the elf said, with a tone of distrust. "What brings a mortal to the Cave of Nokma? You do not belong here." "I don't belong anywhere, if what I saw in my dream is true," Claire replied, feeling bravery swell within her. "My city is in danger. I don't know how, but I need to discover the truth." The elf studied Claire for a moment that felt like an eternity before finally relaxing his expression. "My name is Jasper. If you truly seek the truth, perhaps I can help you. But you must be prepared for what you will find here." At that moment, a shimmering light appeared beside Jasper. A tiny fairy, with delicate wings that sparkled like prisms, floated in the air. "The truth may be heavier than you imagine, Claire," said the fairy, with an enigmatic smile. "We are all connected by destiny, and darkness is approaching." Claire felt a chill run down her spine, but determination pushed her forward. "I'm ready. What do I need to do?" "First," Jasper replied, "you must understand what is truly at stake here. Come and hear the story that the shadows do not want you to know." Claire felt her heart pounding fiercely as she ventured deeper into the Cave of Nokma. The environment around her was enveloped in mystery and magic, with the damp walls reflecting a soft, ethereal light that seemed to dance as if it were alive. With every step, the whispers of her dark visions echoed in her mind, and the urgency to uncover the truth about the nightmares that haunted her grew stronger. It was then that, suddenly, an elegant and slender figure appeared before her. An elf with long silver hair and emerald green eyes watched her with curiosity. He introduced himself with a sly smile. "I am Jasper, the elf who will guide you through this enchanted place. You should not be here, human. Darkness is approaching, and your presence may not be welcome. Claire, refusing to be intimidated, replied with determination. I didn't come here by chance. I'm in search of answers. My city, my nightmares, they are becoming real. What is happening? Jasper assessed her for a moment, his penetrating gaze evaluating the courage radiating from the young woman. The cave of Nokma holds secrets that have been forgotten by time. The darkness you feel comes with the force of an ancient curse, one that feeds on fear and distrust between our worlds. As they spoke, a shimmering light appeared beside Jasper. It was a fairy of small stature, with delicate wings reflecting the colors of the rainbow. Claire, do not be afraid. I am Lila, the guardian of wisdom in this cave. What you seek is more than just answers, you seek the union of our worlds. Claire looked at Lila, intrigued. Union? How can I help? I feel that there's something deeper at play, something that needs to be resolved. Lila adjusted her position, her wings fluttering slightly as the magic of the cave seemed to intensify around her. There is an ancient prophecy that speaks of the union between humans and magical beings. It is believed that only a young person with a fearless heart can restore peace. However, before that can happen, you must confront the darkness that is approaching. Jasper crossed his arms, his tone becoming more serious. But for that, you need to understand that not only humans have their weaknesses. Magical beings also have their distrust. For centuries, there have been betrayals that severed the alliance between our peoples. The path to union will not be easy. I want to try, Claire declared, her determination echoing through the cave. If there's a way to save my city and restore trust between humans and fairies, I'm willing to fight for it. As Claire spoke, a sudden and threatening shadow slid along the cave walls, causing the soft light to flicker. We need to hurry, Jasper said, grabbing Claire's hand. As the shadows draw closer, you may have abilities you don't yet know about. Lila positioned herself in front, her wings shining brightly. Focus, Claire. The magic flowing within you is powerful. Believe in yourself. With a swift movement, the shadows attacked, cloaked in a dense darkness that seemed eager to swallow everything. Claire felt a wave of energy surge through her body, and in an instant, a pulsating light emanated from her hands, illuminating the cave and momentarily dispersing the shadows. I didn't know I could do that. Claire exclaimed, surprised and scared at the same time. You are stronger than you realize, Jasper said, impressed. But this strength must be controlled. Let's move forward, Claire. We need to find the truth hidden deep within this cave. With a new sense of purpose, Claire and her new friends advanced, ready to face the challenges ahead, united by the hope that light could prevail over darkness. Claire and Jasper, still panting and with their hearts racing from their recent escape from the shadows, entered a deeper chamber in the cave of Nokma. The walls were covered in an ethereal glow, reflecting the tiny lights emitted by magical creatures floating around. However, when they encountered a group of fairies, the atmosphere of anticipation quickly turned tense. The fairies, with their delicate wings and suspicious expressions, formed a circle, blocking Claire and Jasper's passage. Who is this human? Questioned a silver-haired fairy, her gaze piercing. She doesn't belong here. Jasper, sensing the hostility, stepped forward. She is not a threat, Fira. Claire came seeking answers, just like we did. Darkness is approaching, and we need everyone's help. And why should we trust a human? Replied another fairy, her eyes glinting with distrust. The stories we've heard about humans are not good. What guarantees that she is not here to betray us? Claire, feeling the pressure of the situation, decided to intervene. I am not like the humans you know. I am here because I had nightmares about the destruction of my city, and those nightmares are connected to you. If we don't unite our forces, we will all be in danger. The fairies hesitated, murmuring among themselves, while Claire took the opportunity to step closer. Jasper told me about the ancient alliance between our peoples. I want to help restore it. I want to understand what happened. The leader of the fairies, an imposing figure with golden wings, watched Claire with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. And what do you know about the betrayal that broke this alliance, human? I do not know all the details, But I know that distrust and betrayal started a cycle of pain between our worlds, Claire replied, her voice steady despite her fear. We need to know the truth to heal our wounds. A beautiful speech, but words are not enough, Feyre said, crossing her arms. We need actions. If you truly wish to help, prove that you can be worthy of our trust. Jasper, seeing the situation deteriorating, intervened again. Perhaps we can gather the humans and fairies for a council. If Claire can show that humans also desire peace, we might begin to heal the past. The fairies exchanged furtive glances. And if this is a trap? We cannot be so naive, one of them said, her voice tense. If we do not try, we are doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past, Claire insisted, feeling a new surge of determination. We can establish a dialogue, and I commit to being the bridge between our worlds. Silence fell as the fairies deliberated. Finally, the leader of the fairies, with a determined expression, spoke. If you truly wish to unite our peoples, you will have to face the challenges that lie ahead. Distrust does not dissolve with mere words. We need an ancient ritual, one that can unite our hearts and minds. A ritual? Claire questioned, intrigued. How does it work? The tradition says we must gather artifacts from both worlds, those that symbolize our union, the fairy explained. But the artifacts are hidden, and many dangers await us on this quest. Are you willing to face these challenges? Claire looked at Jasper, who gave her an encouraging nod. I am willing. I will do whatever it takes to restore peace between our peoples. The fairies began to stir, and Feyre, still skeptical, said, if you fail, you will face the wrath of our clan. And if you betray our trust, there will be no forgiveness. I will not fail, Claire replied, her voice filled with determination. I am here to fight for all of us. Thus, a fragile agreement was formed. Claire, with Jasper's support, prepared for the mission that could change the fate of both worlds. The fairies, although still hesitant, felt a spark of hope ignite in their hearts. The journey was just beginning, but the shadow of distrust still hung in the air, a challenge Claire would have to face with every step she took moving forward. Claire observed the walls of the cave of Nokma closely, where the echoes of her discoveries still reverberated in her mind. The soft light illuminating the space seemed to dance to the rhythm of her thoughts, creating shadows that whispered secrets. Beside her, Jasper, with his pointed ears and penetrating gaze, looked as curious as she felt. We need to find a way to unite our worlds, Claire said, her voice firm despite the nervousness that accompanied her. But how? The distrust runs deep. I know an ancient legend about a ritual that can help, Jasper replied, crossing his arms. They say it can unite humans and magical beings in a pact of friendship. But for that, we need the sacred artifacts that are hidden around here. Claire felt a wave of determination. And where can we find them? The first artifact is deep within the cave, in a forgotten temple, guarded by trials that test courage and loyalty, Jasper explained, his gaze drifting into the darkness that lay ahead. We need to be prepared for what is to come. Then let's go, Claire affirmed, without hesitation. This is our only chance. The two made their way into the cave, where the cool, damp air enveloped them. As they advanced, Claire felt anxiety rising within her, but also a vibrant excitement. The possibility of uniting their worlds felt more real with every step. After a while of walking, they reached a fork in the path. The walls were covered in ancient inscriptions, visible only under the soft light emitted by a crystal hanging from the ceiling. Claire traced the marks with her fingertips, reading aloud, "Courage will be tested, and only the pure of heart will find the truth." This is what we need. Let's go this way, Jasper said, pointing to the tunnel on the right. As they moved forward, Claire felt a strange presence around her, as if the cave itself were alive. The path grew narrower and the darkness denser. A sense of unease accompanied her, but she remembered her purpose. "Jasper, are you sure we're on the right path?" Claire asked, a bit hesitantly. "Yes, trust me," he replied, with an encouraging smile. "The truth always finds its way." After a few minutes of walking, they arrived at a large hall illuminated by a golden light that seemed to emanate from an altar in the center. On the altar, 3 artifacts were ceremoniously arranged: an amulet, a shining stone, and a staff adorned with ancestral symbols. "These are them," Jasper said, his eyes shining with excitement. "We need to take the amulet first." Claire cautiously approached the altar, but as soon as she reached out to touch the amulet, a wave of energy surged through the environment. The ground began to tremble, and shadows emerged from the walls, forming indistinct figures. "We can't hesitate. Grab the amulet," Jasper shouted, trying to fend off the approaching shadows. Claire, her heart racing, grasped the amulet firmly. As she did, an intense light emanated from the object, dissipating the shadows that tried to envelop them. She felt an instant connection with the artifact, as if it were recognizing her purpose. "We did it!" Claire exclaimed, breathless. "But this is just the beginning," Jasper warned, glancing around with concern. "We need to find the next artifact before the shadows return." "Let's go! We can't waste any time," Claire replied, determined. As they prepared to leave the hall, Claire couldn't shake the feeling that the true battle was just beginning. Whatever lurked in the depths of the cave would not give up easily. She and Jasper would need all the courage and loyalty they could muster to face what lay ahead. Claire and Jasper, after a long journey through the magical forest, finally reached the edge of an ancient temple covered in moss and vines that seemed to have grown around it for centuries. The stones were large and imposing, and the walls were carved with symbols of unity and harmony between humans and magical beings. The atmosphere was charged with an ancestral power, and Claire could feel the energy pulsing beneath her feet. "We're almost there," Jasper said, his gaze fixed on the entrance of the temple. "The artifacts we seek are inside. They are the key to restoring the Alliance." Claire nodded, but her mind was filled with doubts. What if we don't succeed? What if the fairies still see us as enemies? "We need to believe that the truth will prevail," Jasper replied, with an encouraging smile. "Unity is stronger than fear." The two entered the temple, where soft light filtered through cracks in the stones, creating dancing patterns on the floor. Claire looked around, admiring the statuettes of fairies and elves that adorned the space. In the center of the temple, on a stone altar, were the artifacts: a scepter adorned with sparkling crystals, a flower crown, and a small box enveloped in a golden aura. "These are the artifacts of the Alliance," Claire murmured, cautiously approaching the altar. "They really exist." Jasper also approached, observing every detail. "We need to retrieve them, but be careful, Claire. The temple may be protected by enchantments." Claire reached out for the scepter, but before she could touch it, an intense light burst from the altar, and a wave of energy pushed them back. Claire fell to her knees, and Jasper quickly positioned himself between her and the source of the light. "Who dares to enter my sacred domain?" a voice echoed through the walls, deep and resonant, as if coming from all directions. "Forgive us, great spirit of the temple," Jasper spoke, his voice firm yet respectful. "We come in search of the artifacts to restore the alliance between humans and fairies." "Alliance? You broke that alliance with the betrayal of your ancestors." The voice thundered, and Claire felt a chill run down her spine. "But we are not our predecessors." Claire stood up, determined to defend her cause. "I am Claire, and I came to unite the worlds, not to divide them." "Your words are sweet, young human, but the truth is etched in history. Many have suffered because of the actions of humans," the voice replied, its distrust evident. "Then let me prove that we can change," Claire exclaimed, her determination growing. "If you allow us to recover the artifacts, I promise we will do everything in our power to heal the wounds of the past." A profound silence fell over the temple, and Claire felt her heart race. The tension was palpable, and she was about to retreat when the light began to pulse gently, as if contemplating her words. "If you seek the truth, then prove it," the voice finally spoke, calmer. "Within the scepter, there is a diary. It contains the story of the betrayal that broke the alliance. If you can decipher it, you may discover what really happened and how to unite the worlds again." Claire exchanged a determined glance with Jasper. "Let's find this diary. We need to know the truth." With a careful gesture, Claire extended her hand again, and this time, upon touching the scepter, the light dissipated, revealing the diary hidden within. She pulled it out and felt a surge of energy coursing through her body. The pages were old and yellowed, but the handwriting was clear. "Let's read this now," Jasper said, his voice filled with anticipation. Claire opened the diary, and the words began to dance before her eyes. "It says here that the betrayal was caused by a human who made a pact with a dark entity, promising power in exchange for separation between our worlds." "That's horrible," Jasper exclaimed, his eyes wide. "We need to take this back to the cave and show the fairies. They need to understand that the real betrayal wasn't from all humans, but from a specific traitor." "Yes," Claire agreed, holding the diary tightly. "This is the key to our union. Let's go, Jasper. We have a lot to do." With the diary in hand, the two exited the temple, the weight of the truth now in their hearts, ready to face the challenges ahead and determined to restore the alliance between humans and magical beings. Claire felt her heart race as she looked at the group of fairies surrounding her, their distrustful gazes weighing heavily on her shoulders. The leader of the clan, a fairy with long silver hair and delicate wings, stared at her with a stern expression. Claire knew she needed to act quickly to gain their trust, and the diary she had found in her hands seemed to be the key to that. "I am not your enemy," Claire began, her voice firm but trembling slightly. "I come here to unite our worlds, not to destroy them." The clan leader, named Alicia, crossed her arms and tilted her head. "And what do you know about the betrayal that broke our alliance? You are just a human." I found this diary," Claire replied, holding the object with both hands as if it were a treasure. "It speaks of the betrayal, of how humans and fairies were divided." Alicia frowned, but Claire did not allow herself to be intimidated. With a determined gesture, she opened the diary and began to read aloud. "The betrayal began when a human, seduced by power, revealed the magical secrets to those who wished to see the end of peace." Each word seemed to echo in the cave, and the fairies began to stir, murmuring among themselves. "This is an offense," one of the fairies exclaimed, her wings vibrating with indignation. "How can we believe you are not like him?" "Because I am here, willing to mend what was broken," Claire replied, her gaze steady on Alicia. "I am not like that human. Please, listen to me. This story needs to be told, and the truth needs to be revealed." Alicia hesitated, her expression softening slightly. "And what if you are lying? What if this is all a trick?" "I am not a liar," Claire insisted, feeling the urgency of the situation. "If you allow me, I can prove that true magic exists when we are together. Look around us. Darkness is approaching, and we need to be united to fight against it." As Claire's words echoed, a shadow began to move across the cave walls, as if the darkness itself were listening. The tense atmosphere turned to panic as the shadow took form, creating a grotesque being that seemed intent on devouring everything around it. "What is that?" Alicia screamed, her wings rising in a defensive gesture. "Is this the darkness you mentioned?" "Yes," Claire replied, her heart pounding. "We need to fight together." Before they could organize themselves, the shadow lunged, claws reaching for Claire and Alicia. Without a second thought, Claire raised the diary as if it were a shield, and a wave of light burst forth from it, illuminating the cave. The fairies, inspired by Claire's courage, joined her. "Now!" Alicia shouted, and the fairies began casting spells, their voices coming together in a powerful chorus. "For our alliance. For our freedom." Claire felt the magical energy pulsing around her, and in a moment of clarity, she realized her abilities were intensifying. "Fight with me," she exclaimed, enveloped in a brilliant light that seemed to connect everyone present. The shadow hesitated, as if sensing the power of the union between humans and fairies, but soon lunged again, more furious. Claire then closed her eyes and let the energy flow through her body. When she opened her eyes, an intense glow emanated from them. "I will not let this darkness defeat us," she shouted, and with a movement of her hands, she channeled the magic surrounding her. Alicia and the fairies, feeling Claire's strength, joined her, forming a shield of light that would repel the shadow. "Together!" Alicia shouted, and the power of unity manifested in a beam of light that struck the shadow, causing it to retreat. As the battle intensified, Claire realized that the fairies were beginning to trust her. They fought side by side, and the connection they were forming became palpable. Fear and distrust were slowly dissipating, giving way to a new hope. Claire smiled, determined to continue fighting, not just for her city, but for a new alliance that could change the fate of both worlds. The battle intensified, and the echoes of screams and the crackling of magic filled the air of Nokma Cave. Claire, with her heart racing, felt the adrenaline surging through her veins. Beside her, Jasper wielded a bow made of a material that shimmered with the light of the moon, while the fairies, with their shimmering wings, prepared for combat. The shadows, like a dense and threatening cloud, advanced toward the group, an indistinct mass of darkness that seemed to absorb all light around it. "We need to unite," Claire shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Only together can we defeat them." Jasper nodded, his gaze determined. "The fairies have power, but trust is everything. We need to show them that we are not enemies." The fairies hesitated, exchanging nervous glances, but it was too late. A larger shadow emerged, with long claws and eyes glowing red with ancient hatred. Claire felt a shiver run down her spine, but she did not back down. Instead, she remembered Lila's words about the strength of unity. "Fairies," Claire called, her voice resonating with unexpected power. "If we do not fight together, we will be consumed. Fight by my side, and let's show these shadows that light is stronger." The fairies, inspired by Claire's determination, began to fly in circles, magic emanating from their wings like a golden glow. As they united, Claire felt a wave of energy flow through her body. It was as if each of them was connecting to her, and her own magical abilities began to intensify. "Now!" Jasper shouted, firing an arrow that cut through the air and struck a shadow, causing it to dissipate into a cloud of black smoke. "Let's go!" With a quick motion, Claire raised her hands, channeling the energy of the fairies. A golden glow erupted from her body, enveloping her in an aura of light. She realized her magical abilities were more powerful when surrounded by friends. "I can feel it," she exclaimed, looking at the elves and fairies now fighting by her side. "We need to direct our magic." The fairies began to dance around Claire, their voices joining in a soft chant, and each note seemed to amplify the light around them. Claire closed her eyes, focusing on the energy pulsating inside her. 1, 2, 3. "Now!" she shouted, and with a movement of her hands, she launched a beam of light toward the shadows. The beam of light hit the mass of darkness with an explosion of energy, causing the shadows to retreat momentarily. Claire felt the power of the union between magical beings and humans, a bond that transcended any old distrust. The fairies were now flying in unison, creating a spectacle of colors in the air, while Claire and Jasper fought by their side, each using their power to protect one another. "We're winning. We can't stop now," Jasper exclaimed, his eyes shining with determination. "Fight with everything you have," Claire shouted, her voice rising above the noise of battle. "This is our chance to change everything." The battle intensified, and Claire noticed that the leader of the fairies, who had previously hesitated and distrusted, was now watching with admiration. Claire and Jasper were at the forefront, fighting bravely, and the fairies, finally united, found their courage. They shot beams of light toward the shadows, and each beam seemed to eradicate a bit of the approaching darkness. With one last battle cry, Claire joined her forces with the fairies, and a powerful beam of light erupted from her hands, enveloping the shadows in a blinding glow. The darkness began to dissipate, and Claire felt that victory was near. But in the heat of battle, the fairy leader, who had been observing closely, finally stepped forward. "Claire," she shouted, her voice laden with emotion. "I feared you humans because of the past. But now I see that the true betrayal was the distrust between our worlds." With those words, the battle became not just a fight against the shadows, but a struggle for acceptance, for unity, and for overcoming a painful past. Claire smiled, realizing that the most powerful magic of all was the one that united hearts and minds toward a common goal. With the battle finally won, a silence reverberated through the cave of Nokma. Claire, still panting, watched the exhausted but determined faces of her allies. The fairies, once cautious and distrustful, now looked at her with a mix of respect and relief. The clan leader, her delicate wings still fluttering, approached Claire. "You have proven your worth, human," the leader said, her voice soft yet firm. But it takes more than courage to unite our worlds. Claire felt a lump in her throat. I understand your fears, but this battle showed that together we are stronger. We need to heal the wounds of the past, not just between us, but in our hearts. The fairies began to murmur among themselves, and Claire seized the opportunity. Let's come together. Let's hold a ceremony to celebrate our union. May we share stories, laughter, and hopes. Jasper, who was by Claire's side, nodded enthusiastically. A celebration. This could be the first step toward restoring trust. We can invite all the humans who believe in peace. But what about those who still have doubts? Questioned a silver-haired fairy, her expression worried. Many of us have suffered because of humans. We need to show them that change starts now, Claire replied, with determination. The darkness only feeds on distrust. If we are transparent, if we show our true feelings, perhaps we can change this narrative. After some discussions, the fairies agreed to help Claire and Jasper organize the ceremony. The cave, which had once seemed a prison of shadows, was now a vibrant space of light. The walls shimmered with the magic still pulsing in the air. Claire could feel the energy of the alliance forming, like a gentle warmth enveloping her heart. Preparations began quickly. The fairies flew toward the trees and flowers, bringing colorful leaves and petals to decorate the place. Claire, with Jasper's help, began to think of words that could touch the hearts of everyone present. We need everyone to feel that this union is special, she said as she tied flowers into an arch that would be placed at the entrance of the cave. On the night of the ceremony, a crowd of humans and fairies began to gather. Claire watched with a mix of anxiety and hope. On the human side, many were reluctant, while the fairies, although fascinated by the idea, still showed signs of hesitation. When the ceremony began, Claire positioned herself in the center, surrounded by Jasper and the leader of the fairy clan. She took a deep breath and began to speak. Today, we are here not only to celebrate a victory, but to open a new chapter in our stories. Together, humans and magical beings, we can build a future where trust prevails over fear. Claire's words echoed through the cave, and gradually, the murmurs of distrust began to dissipate. Jasper stepped forward, smiling, and raised his hand. Remember, each of us has a story. Let's share ours, and thus, we will truly know each other. The clan leader stepped forward, raising her melodious voice. We do not have to forget the past, but we can learn from it. Today, we choose unity and friendship. May this ceremony be a symbol of our new alliance. The crowd, now more united, began to share stories of overcoming, of moments when humans helped fairies and vice versa. Laughter began to echo, and the atmosphere, once heavy and tense, transformed into a space of joy and hope. Claire felt tears of happiness streaming down her face. We are just getting started, she whispered to Jasper, who smiled in response. Yes, he said, and the magic we create together is more powerful than any shadow that may have lurked. In that moment, Claire realized that true magic was not just in the abilities they had discovered, but in the capacity to unite, to overcome fears, and to build a future together. The cave was no longer just a place of secrets, now, it was a home for new hopes. However, in her heart, Claire knew that this new era of unity would require constant vigilance, for darkness could still be lurking, waiting for the right moment to strike again. Claire, along with Jasper and Lila, sat in a clearing illuminated by the soft light filtering through the leaves of the trees. The smell of the forest's dampness surrounded them, but the concern on their faces was palpable. The battle against the shadows had ended, but an unease lingered in Claire. It can't have just been this, she murmured, looking at her friends. You're right, Claire, Jasper replied, his voice grave as he gazed at the horizon. The darkness has receded, but I can still feel its presence. Something isn't right. Lila, with her shimmering wings, gently landed beside them. We need to investigate. If there is a traitor among us, they must be found before they cause more harm. Claire nodded, feeling a surge of determination. Let's go back to the cave. I can sense that the answer is there, hidden in the shadows. With a plan in place, the trio made their way toward the cave of Nakma, their hearts pounding with anxiety and hope. Upon their arrival, the atmosphere felt different. The air seemed denser, almost heavy, as if the cave itself was aware of their presence. "Something is wrong," Lila whispered, looking around with suspicion. "I feel a strange energy here." Claire, resolute, stepped forward. "We need to find out what is happening. Let's split up to cover more ground." Jasper agreed, but hesitated. "Be careful, Claire. We don't know what we're up against. The shadows may still be lurking." Claire looked at him, her eyes determined. "I can't stand still while danger approaches. We need to be brave." As they explored the cave, Claire felt a subtle presence, as if someone or something were watching them. The echoes of their footsteps resonated against the stone walls, creating an almost hypnotic sound. "What do you feel, Claire?" Lila asked, noticing the concentrated expression on the young girl's face. "It's as if there's a force calling us," Claire replied, "but it's also dark." After a few minutes of exploration, Claire spotted a smaller opening leading into a nook. She approached it, and upon looking inside, felt a chill run through her. "Come here. I think I found something," she called, gesturing for our friends. Jasper and Lila quickly moved closer. "It's a secret passage," Jasper said, examining the opening. "We may have found what we're looking for." Claire hesitated, but curiosity urged her on. "Let's go, we can't turn back now." The passage was narrow and dark, and with each step, the tension grew. The air was cold and heavy with an unknown energy. Claire placed her hand on her chest, feeling her heart race as they moved forward. "I hope we have enough courage to face what lies ahead," Lila commented, her voice almost a whisper. Finally, they reached a large chamber illuminated by a spectral light. Shadows moved around them, as if alive, dancing on the walls. In the center of the room, a hooded figure stood with its back to them, manipulating the shadows with subtle gestures. "Who's there?" Claire exclaimed, her voice echoing through the chamber. The figure slowly turned, revealing a pale face and deep eyes that seemed to absorb the light around. "Ah, unwelcome visitors," the entity said with a tone of disdain. "You shouldn't be here." "Who are you?" Claire asked, bravery almost overshadowing the fear she felt. "And what do you want with the Cave of Nokma?" "I am the essence of distrust," the entity replied, a mischievous smile appearing on its lips. "I have fed the shadows that attacked your town. The disunity between humans and magical beings is my power. And you, fools, are here only to help me grow. We won't let you do that." Jasper shouted, stepping in front of Claire and Lila. "We are stronger together." "Stronger? Ah. The weakness of humans is your very nature. You cannot trust even among yourselves, let alone in magical beings like us," the entity mocked, its shadows writhing like serpents, ready to strike. Claire stepped forward, her determination renewed. "Don't underestimate our capacity for unity. We will uncover the truth behind the betrayal that shattered our alliance and end you once and for all. Then come, young ones, come," the entity laughed, the shadows growing around it, as if ready to pounce on them. The atmosphere was tense, and Claire knew that the battle for the truth was just beginning. In the heart of the cave, the air was thick with tension. Claire, surrounded by humans and magical beings, felt the strength of unity pulsing like a drum in her chest. The malevolent entity, a massive shadow that twisted and pulsed, faced her with ravenous eyes, filled with contempt. The battle about to unfold was more than a physical fight, it was a struggle for the soul of both worlds. "Do you think you can unite humans and fairies, Claire?" the entity scoffed, its voice echoing against the cave walls. "Distrust is like a shadow, it never completely disappears." "You are wrong," Claire replied, her voice steady. "The true magic lies in unity, not division." She looked at her friends, Jasper and Lila, and saw determination in their eyes. "Together, we are stronger. Together, we can win." The magical beings and humans organized themselves, forming a circle around the entity. Claire lifted the artifact she had recovered, a crystal that shone brightly, reflecting the colors of the rainbow. "This artifact is the key to our victory. It amplifies the power of unity." Jasper, with his penetrating gaze, added, We fight not only for ourselves but for a future where our peoples can coexist in harmony. Let's show this entity that distrust does not define us." With a battle cry, they all charged forward. Claire felt the bubbling energy around her, a wave of strength propelling her. The fairies spread their wings, creating a magical glow that lit up the cave, while the humans raised their weapons, ready for battle. "Now!" Claire shouted, raising the crystal above her head. A radiant light pulsed from the artifact, enveloping everyone in a warm, luminous embrace. Claire could feel the essence of each being around her, a collective force that propelled her. Unite your hearts. The magic of unity is more powerful than any shadow. The entity, now furious, unleashed a dark spell, trying to separate the group. Claire sensed the threatening power approaching and, with a swift gesture, directed the light of the crystal toward the attack. Don't let distrust tear you apart. Remember who we are together. The shadows dissipated, but the entity, in a last effort, cast a spell that made time seem to stop. You will forget everything. The memory of the battle, the alliance between your peoples, all will be erased. No! Claire screamed, feeling the weight of the spell. This cannot happen. Memory is what binds us. In a moment of clarity, she realized the sacrifice she needed to make. I cannot let this happen. Claire, no! Jasper exclaimed, horror in his tone. You can't. But she was already determined. I will become the guardian of memory. Thus, the story of our union will never be forgotten. With one last look at her friends, Claire launched herself against the wave of darkness. The light of the crystal intensified, enveloping her in a sphere of vibrant energy. She felt the memories flow through her, each laugh, each tear, each moment shared between humans and magical beings. In an act of love and sacrifice, Claire absorbed the pain and distrust, transforming it into pure light. The shadows were finally banished, and the entity, defeated, dissolved into particles of darkness as Claire became a beacon of light. Claire! Jasper shouted, running toward her, but the light surrounded her, and he saw that she was becoming intangible. You can't go. We need you. I will always be here, Jasper, she said, her voice echoing like a whisper. I will guard the memory of the Alliance. The unity between our worlds will live on in me. With that, Claire disappeared, leaving behind a glow that illuminated the cave and, at last, all the beings present there. Jasper looked at Lila, and both felt the pain of loss, but also the hope. They knew that the true magic of their union had been revealed, and that, from that day on, the story of friendship and trust would be told for generations. Let's honor her sacrifice, Lila said, tears in her eyes. Let's make sure that the story of Claire and our union is never forgotten. And so, with renewed courage and united hearts, they began to rebuild their lives, aware that Claire's light would always guide them, even in the darkest shadows. Good night and enchanted dreams.